Oh, yeah. We are live. We are back. Another loaded Saturday slate. How are we doing this morning, Nick?
Doing great, Chris. How we doing, man? Ready to make some money?
I'm ready to make some money. Got a haircut yesterday. It's not looking too sharp, hence the hat. Bear with me, team. See 8 of you right now. We were up to 50 last week, so hopefully we can get those numbers popping. As you can see in our beautiful visual aid, a lot of games to talk about. We have 4 not on this list that we're going to go through one at a time. 4 of the biggest games of the day, 4 of our favorite games. And then we're going to throw to this slide, let you guys in the chat dictate which games we talk about, and we'll go from there. So let's get right into it. Starting off with Baylor at Kansas. Kansas -8 at home. Nick, which way are you leaning in this one?
Pure like line standpoint, I think the value's on Baylor. I did see Langston Love was a game time decision today, so that kind of throws a wrench in it. Yeah, the opener I think was like 5.5 Kansas. So if you wanted to bet Kansas, you kind of missed out early on them. I think it's a good money line parlay piece. Some notes I wrote down for this was Baylor's 2-5 ATS last 7. And really, they should be 1-6. The last game they covered by half a point, and that's because Warren Washington was out for Texas Tech, which is a massive piece for them, obviously. So like Dickinson doesn't have an A+ matchup with Missy guarding him, who I'm pretty high on. He's really athletic, 7-foot big. But at the end of the day, it is an All-American versus a freshman, so I have my question marks with how effective he will be on him. And then my other concern for Baylor, if you're looking to back them, is they're 11th in effective field goal percent defensively in the Big 12, and Kansas is number 1 in offensive percent. And we know how good they are on offense, as we saw last weekend versus Houston.
8 is a lot.
It's a lot.
8 is a lot, which pushes me off Kansas, but I'm very confident Kansas wins tonight. Baylor has won 3 in a row, coming off 3 straight really close losses. You had overtime at Kansas State, by 2 at Texas, obviously buzzer beater, and then TCU 3 overtimes at home. So you bounce back with a road win at UCF, and then Iowa State in that absolutely insane game last Saturday, and then as you said, Texas Tech without Washington. But I think a key to this matchup, you bring up Misi versus Dickinson, and obviously Misi is one of the best arguably the best 5-man college NBA prospect in college basketball right now, but I don't know. I just think he could struggle with Dickinson because of how huge, not only how, what I'm saying? It's not like Misi's so mobile, in pick and roll coverage, and he can block shots, but Dickinson is just a big body that can back him down, I think, still, and get him in foul trouble, space him out. And just the way Kansas played against Houston, just sharing the ball. I understand they were hitting a bunch of shots, but I really like the way Kansas moves the ball. And Baylor defensively has been a bit better lately, but that Duke game from non-conference, I still have memories of that, of just not being able to guard the ball in front. And that's not exactly what Kansas is trying to do. It's not like Harris is going to get his own, the guy who has the ball in his hands the most. It's just really sharp passing and cutting and forwards that can make plays. And then McCullough is sneakily leading the Big 12 in scoring, and I don't know. I think another piece of this is Baylor has lost 3 straight by double digits at Fog. And I think that and that's including the championship team, right? The team that won the championship. They haven't won since the COVID year here. But yeah, Kansas in this matchup, they've just been able to score against Baylor as of late. And then Baylor's shooting just hasn't really translated as much to this insane. It's a crazy environment. And I know we saw, I backed TCU against Kansas. We saw someone else give Kansas a good fight at home. I'm trying to remember who it was. Cincinnati. But yeah, I still think Kansas is really hitting their stride lately, with the emergence of Furphy. And still think, as good of a coach Scott Drew is, I still think Bill Self at home is just on a tier of his own. So I'm definitely leaning Kansas, but talk to me more about, am I looking at this Misi Dickinson matchup, right? I know as a big man yourself, right? Isn't Dickinson a lot stronger than him and older than him? Don't you think that will serve him well?
Yeah, I do. I just think that last weekend Dickinson had an A+ matchup down low with Tugler and Francis didn't play because he got injured, and then the other big number 13 for Houston. I can't remember his name. But like they were 6'7", 6'8", 6'9". So like he had, he can shoot, and he can score inside. So like great matchup. This weekend though, or today versus Missy, I have my concerns down low in the post just because Missy like has a high ceiling, like very athletic. So I don't know how comfortable Dickinson will be down low. I think that, like you said, though, the pick and roll is where like they're gonna have to put Dickinson today because he'll probably be effective rolling to the rim or just spotting up the elbow, shooting that mid-range jumper because he's good at that. But yeah, I wouldn't look too much into that matchup. Like you said, McCullough, they have other options like McCullough, Furphy's coming on. There's a lot of different ways to see him score. And I don't trust Baylor's defense really at all. So yeah, that's why I don't love the number. I'm not infatuated by it, but Kansas in a money line parlay should get there for sure, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think if this was, I think 6.5 is when I'd start to be interested in Kansas. If Baylor was getting like 9 or 10, that's when I would start to think Baylor. Right now, it's kind of in that middle ground where I don't really see an edge either way.
Yeah, it's a no man's land at 8, in my opinion.
Quick update with the chat. Buck Dancer, what's up? Good morning. Hell yeah. T-Lay Grease. Apparently, this is your guy, Turnstone, and I'm happy I'm your guy now. Everyone who just hopped into the stream, we've doubled up since the last time, since before we started breaking down this Baylor-Kansas game. We're going to break down all these games. Get cooking in the chat. Like, we're here to help you guys pick our brains. Like, this is our stuff. Like, we've been grinding. We're going to move on from this Baylor-Kansas game to another headlining game this afternoon on CBS. The one non-conference game today. It's Gonzaga at Kentucky. Kentucky looking to avoid losing a third straight at home. Nick, which way are you leaning here?
Yeah, another tough one number-wise. I'm kind of like 50-50 on it. The opener was 2.5, 3, depending on your book. And I actually liked Kentucky at that number. And then this morning got up to 6, and I was like, whoa, like I kind of like Gonzaga at 6. Now 5, 5.5. It's kind of like Kansas is just a no man's land for me. Just a really tough game. My biggest thing for Gonzaga is they're 0-5 in Q1 games, and this is by far their toughest road game of the whole season, especially when you factor in Kentucky is off back-to-back home losses, so there's going to be a little bit extra urgency for them today. And Kentucky didn't have a lot of players from last year on the team, but Gonzaga did beat them early last season by 16. I think it's Spokane. And so this is labeled as a revenge game for Calipari. I mean, there's a few guys on the team still that play them, so they'll have that in the back of their mind. My biggest thing is for Gonzaga is their defensive numbers aren't terrible, but they don't grade out good in transition defense. And I just kind of think Kentucky scores at will. You can't bank on Gonzaga just getting enough stops. And I don't know how many stops Kentucky will get because they don't really do that. We know that by now. Their defense is not good. But at home, a lot more talent, better bench, more depth. I just think Kentucky kind of finds a way to pull away on this one and, maybe win by 10. So if I had to lay it, I would bet Kentucky.
So obviously it's no secret of Kentucky, what Kentucky is defensively, how they want to beat you. It's interesting because in the past, it seems like these Cal teams, it's more like they're guarding right away and then they kind of come along offensively. And this one's the opposite. And I was listening to, it was Aaron Bradshaw in a presser this week, and he was just talking about how it's their communication in these pick and rolls and these defense. And this is where the youth, like the talent from like Shepard and Dillingham and some of these young guys is just insane. Even like Big Z, who's like not even playing that much. It's just absurd how skilled these freshmen are. But you're seeing the downside of all these offensive minded young skilled freshmen is that they're not also that good on defense. That's not why they were such highly touted prospects, right? And if you look at these scores of their Kentucky games, like every game is a track meet at home, and everyone has been able to score. And obviously part of that is due to the pace, but it's like Mississippi State, you beat 90-77. You also, with the same score, you beat Mizzou at home 90-77. Like, I understand that you're scoring 90, so it doesn't really matter. But basically, any team any of these teams that are struggling to score on the road, like in other games in SEC play, like are coming to Rupp and like being able to play at this pace and like get good shots and make shots. And then it's like Florida and Tennessee are better teams than Gonzaga, right? But I don't know, man. There's something. First of all, got my Gonzaga shorts on. I'm not like a huge Gonzaga fan. I'm a college hoops fan, so I got my merch on my different teams. And I woke up this morning. I'm wearing my Gonzaga shorts, and I haven't placed this bet yet, but I'm really thinking about it. And like when I'm talking about this pick and roll defense and the communication, like Ryan Nembhard is one of the smartest point guards in college basketball. Graham Ike is one of the smartest and most experienced big men in college basketball. And I just think that pick and roll tandem is very dangerous and going to be very tough for Kentucky to deal with. And the fact that everyone and their mother has been able to score at Rupp, like let's not forget UNC Wilmington goes in and scores 80, right? And wins 80-73. Obviously shot making is part of that. And like, that's the concern with Gonzaga when my guy Steele Venters goes down and, it's like Dusty Stromer's playing 30 minutes a game. Like that can't happen. But I really like what Mark Few has done recently of getting Ben Gregg in the starting lineup, who has a great looking shot and like can cause problems as a popper. And then I've always been anti Nolan Hickman. I was on a run last year in the tournament. I was just taking Nolan Hickman's under points, rebounds, and assists. It was just a lot. I was just like, why is he playing over my guy Hunter Salas? Why is he playing over the Chattanooga transfers and Malachi? I forget his last name. Malachi, yeah. And I'm just like, I don't get the Nolan Hickman thing. Is he that good defensively? Like, it's just like, I don't like his decision making. He's not a shooter. Nolan Hickman has hit 3+ threes in 6 of his last 7 games. He has totally won me over. I trust him now to shoot the basketball. And Braden Huff, there's certain matchups where Braden Huff is just getting cooked on defense and he can't play, and that might be one of them. But even if they can get 10 minutes out of him, like I think Kentucky's gonna have a really tough time guarding him. So this looked a lot more appetizing at 6.5, which I thought it was at for like a second last night, and I didn't act quick enough. If this gets back to 6, I'm probably gonna play Gonzaga. Like I've got my shorts on, and this is just such a big spot for them, right? Like they have so much on the line. Like Mark Few missing the NCAA tournament would just be absurd.
Yeah, this game is like everything to them. It's either I still think they have to win the WCC tournament to get in, but like you need this game, you need to win at St. Mary's. You need both of them for sure to get in. I will say this: like this is the tempo Gonzaga wants to play at. It's not like last week when they played St. Mary's and you had to play a snail pace grinder. Like you'll be able to run on Kentucky, you'll be able to play tempo. Like ton of possessions in this game, ton of points. If you want to take the number out of the equation, I think Gonzaga team total over is fine. I think they can hit their team total, win or lose.
That's a good point.
So I do think that's a good angle. I'm not 100% sure of the number right now, but I would lean that way. His total's 170, spreads 4, so it's probably like 80. It's like low 80, I assume. I think that's a good way to go about it.
I think Gonzaga team total is definitely an interesting angle to this. I see you, Buck Dancer. Apparently, it's dropping again, so that's some interesting line movement to go up and then back. Other guys in the chat, I see you mentioning some games. We got 2 more that we have loaded up, and then I promise you we're going to get to all of those that you want to see. But hell yeah, Ian, hell of a slate today. A couple more things on Gonzaga. Since the new year, they've lost twice, right? They lose at Santa Clara in a game where they shot 2 of 20 from 3. Anton Watson at 32 in that game. I also think he is an interesting matchup for Kentucky. I
assume Trey Mitchell will guard him, and that's a plus matchup for Watson. Watson should have a good day. Honestly, there's player props for him. I like his over.
And then when you look at the loss to St. Mary's, that's also just sometimes a result against a team like St. Mary's you just got to throw away. Like I understand that for a lot of people's perception of Gonzaga, but
St. Mary's
wouldn't change a single thing for how
they're way better now.
Yeah, Gonzaga is still a team with talented players that's not deep, that has Mark Few as their coach, that is playing in the WCC where they're just getting reps of cooking bad teams. But Mark Few has made this jump of and I know it's weird timing because it's mid-February, but like, this jump of Gonzaga from, we're playing Pacific to like, we need to go play Kentucky now. Like, he's shown time and time again that he's able to get his guys to like adjust to that level of play. So if Buck Dancer's right and this is down to 4, I'll look at the team total over or a live bet. But I feel really good that Gonzaga's not just going to lay. I mean, of course, there is a scenario that Kentucky's lost 2 in a row at Rupp and they just win this game 90-72, right? And Gonzaga just can't keep pace. They're not hitting enough threes. And I mean, it's really hard to stop Kentucky, right? Like even Tennessee just gave up so many points to them. Obviously the pace impacts that, but the point is Kentucky has been able to put their imprint of how they want to play the game on, in basically all their games. And if they can do that and Gonzaga can't keep pace, then it's going to be Kentucky. So maybe I'll stay away. But this is going to be a fun game to watch. This is probably the, CBS non-conference. I'm excited for this one.
Yeah.
Moving on to TCU at Iowa State. Iowa State was my pick of the day last Saturday against Baylor in a crazy game. We hung on for the cover. Was not pretty. TCU is one of my favorite teams in college basketball. I know you're big into TCU, Nick. Is that where you're going for this one?
Yeah, so I did play TCU officially. So my biggest thing was Iowa State. I noticed last year, like a lot of teams would lose to them the first time around, but then when the second time rolled around, they beat them. They just were much more prepped. They knew what to expect. The biggest thing is, like, for me, Iowa State doesn't have a ton of talent. It's just relentless pressure. So, once you play and face that pressure, you really settle in, and you know what to expect. You can prepare for it better. We kind of saw that in the first half. I think you mentioned TCU had like 18 turnovers in the first half of the first time they played. They only had 9 in the second half, which is still a good bit for a half, but they did cut it down in half. And that was just kind of like on the fly mid-game adjustment. So now you get TCU off a loss. There's a revenge factor here. I think the numbers a tad bit inflated because of what Iowa State's been able to do at Hilton. I will say, like, I had them 3 minus laying at 3 versus Kansas, and it closed 4.5, and they won by 4. I just think the number at Hilton is just getting a little bit out of control now. I think that 8, there's a lot of value there still. Going back to my zigzag theory, just to bounce it back, kind of, or back it up, I mean. So ISU last season beat Texas, Oklahoma, Texas Tech, and Kansas State. And then in round 2, they lost all those teams.
Were those mixed up in a way?
No, that's just like playing them, beating the first time, losing the second time. Didn't matter home or away. But yeah, no, I respect Hilton enough, so I wouldn't, bet the money line with TCU here. But 8 is too many for me here. I think that it's like a 1-possession game, comes down to foul shots at the end of the game. So maybe they lose by like 5-6, but I think that number comes in rather comfortably.
All right, quick pause. I got to grab my coffee from the coffee machine. Ooh. All right. I always forget to grab it before the show starts. We'll figure it out eventually. Okay. I love TCU as a basketball team. Iowa State I've come around on. What's crazy about Iowa State is you look at what Otzelberger has done in his tenure. Year 1, right, where no one expected anything from them. 171st offense, 5th best defense on KenPom. Year 2, 114th best offense, 8th best defense. Year 3, 47th best offense, 4th best defense. So the defense has been top 10 3 straight years. Like, that's crazy, right? And the offense has just gone better and better and better. So this is clearly the best Iowa State team that he's had, and he's done a great job. You look at TCU, and ever since that TCU Arizona tournament game, I've just really loved TCU's style of play because TCU was a team that I never really took seriously. Like, I remember they were a 6 seed the tournament before, and they played Syracuse, and I'm like, obviously Syracuse is going to win, or maybe that was a couple tournaments ago. Point is, TCU as a basketball school, like, I was just thought they were just like a Big 12 team that was never going to really break through and be that relevant. But ever since that game against Arizona, where they looked like the better team and should have won that game if Ben Mathurin didn't bail them out, like, I've just loved their style. And what is Jamie Dixon's style? It's a bunch of big, it's playing big, but maybe not throwing a typical big out there at all times, but like big athletic guards that run in transition, that get to the rim, that share the ball, right? That are skilled, but in a funky way. Like, that's the thing about TCU. Like, they're a unique team. And that's, I think, a reason why they've traveled well, right? It's like, you win at Baylor in triple overtime. You win at Oklahoma State. I know they're not good, but they had to come back from down big in that game, but you still get the win. You lost at Cincinnati in overtime, and you deserve to win at Kansas. So they've traveled really well. And like I said, I think it's because of how unique they are. Like, they're capable of like knocking down a bunch of threes, but they don't need to knock down threes to beat you. Like, they have guys like Chuck O'Bannon, who sometimes is unplayable because of his defense, which happened in this first game against Iowa State. There was a play where he just completely left Momcilovic. But I don't know. I just like the way Iowa State, or I like Iowa State too. Sorry. What I like about TCU is when you're handling this Iowa State pressure, right? Like, as you said, like teams handling Iowa State better the second time, it's because it's not as in your face. Like, oh my God, these guys are clamping us. Like, I can't even throw this regular pass to the wing that most teams are giving us. Like, they're guarding us so far away from the basket. They're jumping these passes, but like TCU started to settle into that game. Like, mind you, 18 first half turnovers later, like, which was just nuts. Like, they couldn't run anything, right? But they started settling into the game a bit, like cutting a little bit more, like using Micah Peavy and Jacoby Coles as guys who could cut and pass and find ways to mitigate the pressure, because Iowa State will like swarm you. Like you start to drive a little bit baseline, like there's three guys there, you know? And I just think that, having the tape of this game and like, as you say, this trend that has existed with Iowa State, that TCU is going to be able to handle it better. They've traveled well. Like, I don't see any reason why they're just not going to be able to score, right? And like Iowa State offensively at home, like, they've shown like in games like Kansas, like they can make shots, they can get hot. I'm still just not like, I'll just be surprised if Iowa State just cooks offensively in this game and TCU can't keep pace, if that's the thing. Another piece is TCU is coming off a loss to Texas a week ago. They've had some prep time, and in that loss and they got out rebounded by like 13 by Texas, and Jamie Dixon post games, like that can't happen. That's not even that good of a Texas team at rebounding. And like, for sure, I just feel like that's kind of a wake up call with toughness. That team also does not lose at home very often. TCU, that's their second home loss. Like, they're going to be dialed in for this one. Like, this is a lot of points for a team that's this good, right? And as you said, like, I just think the Hilton Magic, Iowa State at home is just going to be pushed up a bit. And the market, like, we're going to look at all these Saturday games, right? Like, the market is so sharp. Like, I understand why this line is what it is, but TCU getting this many points is like the exact type of team, that you'd like to back with this many points.
Yeah, no doubt. Like you said, they did have a full week off the prep, meanwhile, and off a loss. So, you're going to get their best today. Meanwhile, Iowa State played midweek, beat Texas on the road. So they come back home now. So maybe a little hungover. I'm not banking on a hangover, but maybe a little fat happy off that. And like you hit on it, they've been really good on the road this year. Like you said, they won at Baylor, won at Oklahoma State, OT, to Cincinnati, and lost by 2 at Kansas. So, they've proven they're a really good team on the road this season. I think it carries over. Another big thing is, the 3-point shot is a great equalizer to pressure, because you're going to get open shots off of trap, stuff like that. And 40% TCU, second in the Big 12. So, not a high volume, but high percent. So I like TCU to hang around this game for sure.
Yeah, and I got to keep my money line sprinkles under control. I've been very good against the spread this year, but then I start to just love taking my dogs win outright. If there's one game that I do it today, it's TCU, because there's just been too many times where, when I took them as Kansas as 8.5-point dogs, like I just trust this team. Like, they literally lost this game by 1. Like, they hit a 3 at the buzzer, like they were down 4, but like they turned the ball over 28 times. And I understand you're at home and it's easier to make a comeback, but like, come on, they weren't functioning.
And
like, they had 20 possessions that were just throwaway possessions. They couldn't function.
I'd love to bet, like, if there's a turnover prop, I'd love to bet the under on this. Like, I don't think they turn it over much. Dixon's going to have them ready to go. He's going to have a good scheme today. Like, TCU, great spot, great play.
Yeah. So you guys know where we are on that game. We got one more before we get into the rest of the slate. We open up to the chat, so bear with us. Another marquee game on this slate. You've got Illinois traveling to Michigan State. Michigan State won the first game 71-60. No, I lied. Illinois won the first game 71-68. Michigan State played well. No Terrence Shannon in that game, right? Michigan State played well in that game, but they're laying 3.5 here because they're like 1-7 in Q1. They really need this. They're 6-6 in the league. What do you think of this line? Which side are you leaning?
Yeah, so Michigan State did cover. They were plus 3.5 in Illinois, and they did cover that actually. But like you said, this was out without Shannon, who obviously brings a whole different dimension to this team. He's such a good player, All-American. My biggest thing with Michigan State is, I know the narrative Izzo, March, February, like this is when he gets the best out of his teams and make a run. They win some games they're not supposed to win. But I feel like they've been kind of fake sharp over the last year. This season, if you look at who they've beat in Big Ten play, they've beaten Rutgers, Michigan, Penn State, Maryland, and Minnesota. So none of the upper echelon teams, no one I really respect out of that group. And their losses are Wisconsin twice, Northwestern and Illinois without Shannon, and Nebraska. So they really haven't beaten anybody good, but they've only beaten the bad teams. At 3.5, I don't love Michigan State. I'd want to bet them under possession. I guarantee if you live bet this game, you will be able to get them like at a pick or maybe even at a dog. I don't think they pull away. I don't think they have the offense to even pull away. And Illinois is really good. They won 4 in a row head-to-head versus Michigan State. So Underwood has prepped and schemed really well for Izzo's teams. The biggest thing, and everyone's going to be pointing towards this when they're betting Michigan State, is they're a bubble team. They need a Q1 win, and that's true. And they're really good at home, but I think it's really hard to trust them today. And like I said, I wouldn't want to lay the number, especially over possession now. It's either bet them live like a pick or pass, in my opinion.
All right.
I will say, like, schematically, you need Hogard, Atkins, and Walker to so they played. So Illinois will drop Coleman, Hawkins. So you'll have space in the mid range. I trust Walker. I don't trust anyone else on the team. They're very inefficient. They grade out very poorly in that category in the mid range, and you're going to be relying on that a lot today because you can't get anything out of their bigs from Michigan State. It's not pretty. If you're betting Michigan State, you're kind of just betting on Izzo home. No X's and O's in my opinion.
Yeah, so you bring up a good point about like the space for Walker and Hogard, right? To make plays. In that game in Champaign, Tyson Walker had 7 twos, AJ Hogard had 5 twos, and Lee Call had 6. Like they were able to generate some good looks and score on the interior. Shot 5 of 19 from deep in that game. But here's why I'm playing Illinois. It's uncomfortable in this spot with this line, of course. Like it's hard to take sometimes the ranked teams at these these home favorites that are unranked,
sure,
just because it feels like it's not sharp, right? And then you look into the X's and O's and you're like, okay, but Illinois is better and they can beat them and exploit them in XYZ way. Yeah. And then sometimes you turn the game on and then Michigan State is just the crowd's pumping up, like they're just hitting some threes early, they're getting some steals, and then it's like, well, fuck, why'd I bet against Michigan State at home?
Right.
But I just don't think it's going to go that way. And you've done okay. Let me not say that. I think there's more outs for Illinois to just go be the better basketball team than for Michigan
Absolutely.
State to, what I'm saying, 100%. To like Michigan
100%.
State this game. And one thing is, Tyson Walker's like not healthy. Like he's gonna play, but like he didn't practice on Thursday. And Izzo was talking about how he's just being a little cautious with him, but that he's a tough kid and like he's gonna play. But he missed some time in that Minnesota game. He came back in, but that's when Minnesota went on their run. I just think Michigan State only looks good when he is cooking, right? When he is being that dude, when he's the best player on the floor. Yeah. And if he's a little banged up, like in a game where he really has to guard too, because Illinois got, who's really checking Shannon? Like who's, there's no one easy to guard on Illinois. Like everyone's starting is over 6'5", 6'6". Like they're crashing the offensive glass and they're really good at crashing the offensive glass. Hawkins is such an advantage over whatever nonsense Michigan State's throwing out at the center position, which they've just not been able to figure out, right? Like just way more times than not, that position is just not playing well for this team. And I don't know. Like, I just think Michigan State needs Tyson Walker to kind of go for like 25, 28 to win this game. Like that's just in the last 2 years, I just think they are much better when he is balling out. And like Hogard is just way too streaky for me. And Illinois is just proven time and time again that they can just put up points on anyone. Like you look at what they've done on the road. You lose to Tennessee, but you scored 79. You lose to Purdue, you scored 78. You lose at Northwestern in overtime. You finished 91, but in regulation you were in 80. And then Ohio State, you dropped 87 on. You dropped 88 on Michigan. Like this team their offense travels because they're, in a similar way to TCU. Like the positional versatility and they're on another level from TCU for sure. But like the positional versatility and the talent, like, is just a unique team in this Big Ten conference. Yeah. Like no one's playing like them. And I don't know. I just think Michigan State there's a reason why they haven't beaten good teams. You know, they blitzed Baylor after like when they were down bad, and they got Baylor.
Big sharp, in my opinion. There's not that good. Like you said, if you're betting Michigan State today, you got to have Tyson Walker go for like damn near 30. Like you just have to have him ball out. And I wouldn't bank on that. 3.5. I like Illinois. I do. The thing is, like you said, though, it's hard to fade Michigan State at home, but what are they proven? And Illinois has proven that they're capable on the road. So,
right. And also, like I didn't even mention that in my whole spiel. Like you're getting 3.5, right? It's not like we're just asking Illinois to win this game. Like you're getting 3.5. Michigan State. There's a lot of and a lot of the ways where they put together an amazing performance. They win this game by 4, 5, 6. I'll tip my cap. There's my bad haircut again, everyone. I'll tip my cap to Tyson Walker. Okay, I'll say nice win if they win this game by 4, 5, or 6. But like, I just think either Illinois is going to win or Michigan State's going to barely eke it out. Like, I just don't think that this line is correct. I think this line is just giving too much faith to Izzo and not enough to basketball. Like, okay, example. What was the line when Illinois went to play Northwestern? I'm pretty sure Illinois was favored in that game. Right? And like Northwestern's harder to go beat at home, right?
Yeah,
Northwestern's a harder team to go beat than Michigan
State.
They
lost in OT. So yeah, I agree 100%. 100%. And Michigan State was only getting 3.5 at Wisconsin. I was like, wow, that's really weird. And they got right out of the building. Like it's just the market loves this team, but nothing has proven to us that like we should love this team. So fake sharp in my opinion.
And I wonder why Michigan State is 17th on KenPom right now at 14-9. And I think it's like your defense is 21st, the offense is 35th. Like I guess it's because their strength of schedule has been really good, but like that to me is the most perplexing team of why they are so high on KenPom.
Just preseason expectations. I think they might have been like KenPom top 10 preseason.
They were 13th, I'm pretty sure, right to start the season.
Yeah, just
whatever. Moving on, guys.
I hope they don't make the NCAA tournament. I hope they lose it. I hope they don't get in the tournament. I don't want to see them in the tournament. I don't think they deserve it.
That'd be funny. That'd be pretty North Carolina of them. All right. For those of you, 34 of you on the stream, decent head count. Appreciate you guys. Now it's time for you guys in the chat to dictate where this goes. I'm going to start with Connor Nolan. Actually, no, Connor, you're second. Ryan Kuzer was first. Asking a great question. How is UNC only -3 today? No way they lose 2 in a row, right? Okay. You're talking to Mr. Miami. I love Miami. I've liked them since the beginning of 2 years ago when once I saw what Cam Augusti and Isaiah Wong and Charlie Moore in that backcourt was doing, I knew that they were capable of a march run. They did it. Last year I loved them even more because Jordan Moore was my favorite player. They did it again. This year I came in super hot, cooled off a bit when they got ran out of the gym by Kentucky and Colorado. Then Keyshawn George started just playing out of his mind and became my favorite player in the country. And then since then it's been a lot of losses and I was backing them in a bunch of them. So this line was at 5. It drops to 3, as you said. And as a Miami guy, right, first of all, Keyshawn's supposed to play. As a Miami guy, he's going to play. He's going to play, yeah. Here's my biggest pause with Miami right now. And only laying 3 here, or only getting 3. Miami has owned Carolina during this little mini era of Coach Larinaga having these guards and just putting together these magical runs, right? Like they have owned them. They in 2022, the year they went to the Elite Eight, Carolina came. This was the year Carolina was obviously very up and down, and then made the championship game. They won 85-57 at home. Carolina couldn't touch them. They couldn't get Bay cut the ball. Like Miami ran them out the gym. Okay, and then last year Miami goes to the Dean Dome, and Carolina was coming off beating Clemson, which was a game they needed, right? That was when Clemson was also like 17-4 or something. Like they were really good. Miami goes to the Dean Dome as 5.5-point dogs and wins 80-72, and was just carving. Like they just couldn't guard them, and Miami just made them very uncomfortable. Carolina, I think Baycott and Davis, like there's a lot for this of coming off a loss and going to play a team that has kind of owned you, right, in these last 2 years, and like you guys are like the leaders of the teams. You're the experienced ones. Like I think that this is a Miami team that they're much more capable of getting. Another thing is Clemson looked really good against Carolina. That's the best they've looked. But Carolina's defense was the worst that the Carolina's defense looked, right? Obviously, they were hitting shots. Like PJ Hall and Gerard were hitting shots. But Shiflin and Hall were getting theirs down low. And as much as I love Norchad, like, and I do think he'll be able to have a typical Norchad game, right, of like 16 and 12 or something. Like that's really their only guy who's going to be scoring like that. And the Virginia game was an outlier to an extent because Virginia was playing out of their mind. Keyshawn goes down and Miami couldn't hit anything. They just couldn't run anything. Carolina's not on that level defensively, but I really want to keep my faith in Miami high, but it's definitely dropping a little bit. This would be an awesome win for them, and I really hope they pull it off. But I think Carolina, you're getting a great number for Carolina.
Yeah, it's a Miami must-win Q1 game. They're on the outside looking in of the bubble for sure. Off a historically bad loss where they only scored 38, few days. Larry Nagin, great coach, he was sick after that game, like absolutely sick, disgusted. You're going to get Miami's best day. I can guarantee that. Like you said, Larry Nagin has been pretty good against UNC. Hubert Davis is 0-3 ATS versus Miami actually in his tenure. So Larry Nagin has owned UNC when Davis is the coach. And I will say this. The number was really going to open. It was like 5.5, I believe. I don't think it was 6. I believe 5.5 was there for Miami. And that was a great number. This is the lowest they've ever ranked in Ken Palm all season at 71. So, overreaction, to the dud they laid versus Virginia. I like 5.5 a lot of Miami, but 3 is a good number on UNC. I can't get around UNC. I don't love UNC. I think they're the best team in the ACC, but that's not saying a lot. I want Miami to win this game. I believe in Miami like you as well. Just hard number in my opinion.
Yeah, hard. If you're a Carolina guy and you think they're like a legit title contender, which I'm still not there yet, I think they're a top 10 team. I do not think they're a top 5 team. And that's because Cadeau, love his game, love his talent. He's still young. There's still freshman mistakes on both ends of the floor. And Cormac Ryan is a good piece. And in theory, in theory, he's a perfect piece, honestly. But he just hasn't been playing. He hasn't been bringing it consistently. Harrison Ingram's been awesome. Like I said, the piece of Davis and Bacot being owned by Miami, I think is key here, but you're not going to catch me fading Miami at home. Absolutely not. I really hope they get it done today, but I'm not confident enough. You're only getting 3. 5.5. I was thinking I was almost getting talked into it, but we can't do it there.
If UNC starts hot, I like Miami alive, 6, 7, 8, somewhere in that range. I'd be more comfortable with Miami.
Yeah, Miami's inevitable on these runs, and they just find a way. And yeah, they have Keyshawn George. Let's not forget that. Real quick, Arjun, what's up, man? You're just completely incorrect by saying this line's at 15.5. The highest I've seen is 11.5. So I'm not even going to give you the benefit of the doubt here. I'm going to say either this is a typo or you're just completely misinformed. It's all good though. I'm going to comment on the 11.5. I think BYU is going to rinse Kansas State. Kansas State is gritty, they're grimy, they're fun, they can beat you at home, but they can easily be blown out. I'm not sure if my guy, the Egyptian magician Ali Khalifa, is playing today, which makes me a little bit take a pause about 11.5.
I don't know. Traore, I think it's his last name. He's been balling, bro.
Right, but Kansas State has good down Ingasson and McNair are really good down low, and Foose is smaller. I don't know. I think it's more BYU can hit 16 threes.
Big body. Bro, I think BYU blows them out, honestly.
Yeah. So I'm not 11.5 Arjun. It's not 15.5, but I would still 1,000% lean BYU. If you're thinking, why is Kansas State getting this many points? They just beat Kansas. Don't think like that, because that's not how this game works. Okay. Connor Nolan, PC Butler. So those of you tuned into the Twitter burnerverse, you are well-known Big East Twitter people that Josh Oduro's personal life has unfortunately been publicized. Not unfortunately, because it's an awesome event. It appears that his child with his wife either was born yesterday, is being born today. There's rumors swirling about his availability today. That situation has me scared of PC. It's also a letdown spot, of course. And you have an offensive-minded Butler team at home in a really good rhythm right now, and a Providence team that has been playing great. Devin Carter's an All-American. He's been that dude. It's just a tough spot for them to keep pace with this Butler offense. And then you throw in the Oduro factor. I'm a Friars guy, so I'm not going to play Butler, but I would definitely lean Butler. I think the number is very digestible. I think it's 4.5. Nick, I'm pretty sure you're on the same side, right?
Yeah, so if Oduro's out, that's 16-10, and that's their best big out, and Hopkins has already been out, who was their other best big. So now you're playing a lot of minutes for Castro. I don't think you trust him. Um, it's a Butler must win. It's a Q2 game, but still it's a must win because they're on the bubble. And it's at Hinkle. It's a revenge game. They took Providence to OT when they played earlier. They ended up losing by 10, but again, they went to OT. That was after starting down 15-0, and I think that was like the weird game where something happened
Yeah.
to us or the weather. So it makes sense why I started off slow. Um, but yeah, so the base thing that I wrote down for this one was Providence is sub 200 nationally in turnover percent, and Butler is number one in the Big East in forcing turnovers. So they might be able to generate a lot of buckets off turnovers. Yeah, I'd lay it with Butler here for sure. I wouldn't look to bet Providence.
Good point
But I
about
would like Duro.
good point about Butler. What they did at the dunk, mind you, that was pre Bryce Hopkins injury. That was
Right,
right.
they had Hopkins in that game, so that was at their full strength.
Yeah, that was Providence at full strength, and they needed that awesome play from Jaden Pierre to find Tiki Gaines to send it to overtime after blowing that unreal start to the game, which I think serves Butler well matchup wise, and yeah, hard to love the Friars, and I think they're gonna find a way to sneak into this tournament because of the way Devin Carter's playing, and Kim English has done a great job, but
love
not
them,
the spot,
but
not the spot to back them, not the spot.
yeah, I love Providence, and I wish Bryce Hopkins was still there because I think they were a legit Sweet 16 contender, but this is a hard spot, especially off the OT went over Crane, so not a good spot either.
Yeah, you'd like to be getting a couple more points in value. 4.5 is not enough. Sam, yes, you're right. My dad is the man. I still have no idea who you are. Can I please have some more context? Because I either Twitter DM me or in the chat, bro. I'm like a little rattled because I have no clue who you are. But like, yes, my dad is the man. And good morning to you too. Let me know if you have any games you want us to talk about. Morris Vasquez, what is up, dude? Creighton, traveling to Xavier. Creighton beat Xavier. Did not cover. It was 7.5. They won by 7. It was a really close game. It was back and forth, but then Creighton just down the stretch, like Xavier just couldn't get a stop. Like really struggled guarding Kalkbrenner. Skyman was doing his thing. Hashtag Baylor is a first round pick. Get the movement. Baylor liked my tweet of me saying that, which was a nice moment, and hopefully we come back to that when he is a first round pick. But yeah, Xavier's been playing really well. They're so tough to beat at home. Interesting. I was interested that I was surprised that Villanova was able to control the pace and slow that game down and make it low scoring. I thought Xavier would be able to run on them. Creighton is more comfortable playing at a faster pace. I still don't think Xavier's going to have an answer for Kalkbrenner, although I think Xavier is going to get in much better of an offensive rhythm than they were against Villanova, and Xavier really needs this. But Creighton has traveled pretty well coming off that loss against Providence. Like Creighton played well at Seton Hall. They played well at was it St. John's or no, I'm honestly, it's just that Seton Hall game. It's really the only game they played that well on the road. They were fine against Marquette. Marquette definitely outworked them. And then I don't know. I don't feel this is a stay away game for me, but if I'm going to play it, I would play Xavier in the revenge spot at home.
It's a tough game. It's a big stay away game. I would think that Creighton splits these two road games. Like they already lost to Providence. I feel like they come back and they win this game. They've already beaten Xavier. I don't like fading Centos, but matchup wise, I don't really lean one way or the other. Yeah, it's a pass for me. I got nothing on it.
Tough one. Just enjoy the Big East hoops there. If you really feel good about it, take a side. But that is not. This is a really good board today. Like that's just a game where I just feel like it's too much of a toss up to have a good educated guess on. What's up, Cademan 24? Auburn line surprised you? Did not surprise us because what has these lines been for Florida at home, right? All year.
Yeah.
Like they're favored against 3.5 when Kentucky was like prime, like top hype Kentucky, right? Florida should have won that game. They beat was that game at A&M that Florida just they lost. They dropped
the game at A&M by 1 full week off the prep for this game. So
yeah, they beat Georgia at home. They beat Mississippi State at home. Florida, another one of these fast-paced teams. Obviously Auburn. People are starting to recognize as a legit Final Four contender, and I understand there's some storyline here with coming off the bounce back win against your rival Auburn or Alabama. Mind you, Florida has a week off from losing by 1 on the road in a game they should have won, which would have been their 5th straight win. So Florida's really been rolling. I think Florida has a big advantage in the backcourt. Like, I understand people really like Auburn's guards. I'm still coming around on them, and I think Florida has good sides with Janai Broom. I think Florida can clean up the glass, keep pace, and I just kind of trust Florida's guards to make more shots. And I think just at a straight pick 'em, or maybe Florida's 1-point dogs. I'm going to play Florida here because I've been very profitable playing them. I think I've hit 4 straight. The last 4 times I've bet Florida this year, they've won or covered in each of those games. I really like this team. It's an important spot for them. Auburn on a little bit of an emotional letdown, and Auburn they've been right there. Maybe this is the time they do get over the hump on the road. Like, they haven't been bad on the road, but they just haven't been able to get it done. Like when they go to Mississippi State, when they went to Alabama. So, Auburn loves to beat the brakes off of bad teams, and Florida's far from that. And I think this is a tough spot for them. And I think this is a really good price when you think of the fact that Florida was laying 3.5 against Kentucky, and they're getting 1.5 against Auburn. Like, Florida, the swamp is rocking good teams too.
For sure. Situationally, it's like the best spot imaginable for Florida. Off a loss on the road, A&M, full week off the prep. And then you're getting Auburn off of their biggest win of the season, undoubtedly beating Alabama at home. My biggest worry for Florida is the bigs like Broom, Cardwell, those guys. They're much more athletic than Florida's bigs. So I worry about them down low. Actually, I like Florida's guard play a lot better. I'm high on their guard play. My biggest concern is this for Florida. Auburn is number 1 in turnover percent defensively. And if you look at Florida's losses in the SEC, they lost to Ole Miss, who ranked 2nd in turnover percent. They lost to Tennessee, who ranked 3rd in turnover percent. And Georgia took them to overtime at Florida. They ranked 4th in turnover percent. So they really struggle with this high pressure. So that's my biggest concern. But like you said,
good point.
Situationally, spot everything points Florida. Auburn has not been great on the road. They're going to be hungover in this game. There's no way they're not. Florida's been very good at home, only lost to Kentucky. And this number, I had it at Florida plus like 3.5, 4. And I think it opened at 3.5. I actually leaned Florida, but now this number, it's just there's no value on Florida. You got to have them win the game outright. So, yeah, another one with another tough numbers. The number's gone.
That's a good point about the turnovers. About Auburn, kind of like I trust Florida's guards more offensively, but I think I might trust Auburn's guards, even though they're young, of not turning it over or just playing a little bit more under control. Interesting note about Florida is since they lost to my boys at Wake on November 29th, Micah didn't play in that game by the way. So they've only lost 4 times since the start of December. Those losses were at home against Kentucky by 2 in a game they should have won, 2 road games that got away from them, Ole Miss and Tennessee, and then the 1-point loss to A&M. So they've been beating people, and other than those 2 games that slipped away and they got beat like bad, they've been pretty consistent, and that's why I think I don't know. I understand that Auburn's bigs are more athletic, but I've also I don't know. I think Auburn in the half court on the road, I'm still yet to be convinced that they can be really good in that set. And I understand that they may not be in the half court that much in this game, but when they are, I still give the edge to Florida. And their shot making at home has been really good. And the second chance points, even though Auburn's great at offensive rebounding, like Florida's number 2 in the country.
Yeah. I'm really high on Florida. Like, I think that, they get in the tournament, they can win a game, they can cover some games. There's only 2 teams I'm more high on in the SEC long-term than them. It's Tennessee and it's Auburn. Auburn they scare me, man. Like, ton of size, athleticism, depth, good guards, good coach. They scare me. That's why I was on them, revenge game versus Bama, they blew them out. They're not a team I want to fade, honestly. Analytics love them. I kind of agree to an extent. Just tough game for me as well. I can see either side, honestly.
Yeah, I got in on a small play of Florida, but you're kind of right. It's not comfy fading Auburn, and
it's definitely not comfortable. Yeah.
So,
but that's the thing. Like, some people are low on Auburn, but I'm pretty high on them. So
All right.
Second,
What's up, Mr. Steve French? The whole world is on Colorado in the situational spot. What about zone of first half? I'm on Colorado. I understand it's no fun to be with the world, but like I wrote in my write-up for the Utah. I was on Utah, which was, just absolutely sickening. I know, Nick, you were too. Horrible to spend 3 hours on VIP box, clicking out disgusting pop-up windows.
is this game on Actual Network, by the way? Or just game on
TV? It's not. This one's, I think it's on it's late night, so it should be on ESPN.
Yeah, I know it's like the last game of the night. The best game of the day is like the last game.
Point is, I wrote in that like
ESPN.
Arizona's going to drop one of these two. Arizona's going to drop one of these two on the road, and if they lost to Utah, I wonder how much that would shift this line. But not only is Colorado great at home situationally in the Pac-12, like with the scheduling off these teams that have to stay in the location, right, on these Thursday, Saturdays, these Friday, Sundays. And Nick, I know you have a really good stat for that. From a basketball perspective, I just love Colorado's athleticism. I love Colorado. Colorado is top 3 alongside TCU and Seton Hall of the teams that take the most shots at the rim. Teams that just get to the basket. And Colorado is really good at that. I love what Lampkin can do. He's just as big as Ballo, which is a nice matchup. Cody Williams, he's really grown. KJ Simpson is a guard whose decision-making I trust more than Caleb Love. Colorado has also beaten Arizona at home every time they've played since 2015. And I'm pretty sure most of them, they kind of cruised. So Colorado's done good in this matchup. They're tough to beat at home. Obviously, the situational stuff is why this line is what it is, but it's still not that rich at all. Like, you're just taking them to win the game. And like, I just think they do win the game. This is the spot Arizona loses, right? Like, it's not just the rest thing. It's the travel. It's the fact that Colorado's one of the best teams in the league. Like, I think Colorado has second weekend potential. And Utah, Arizona can guard when they're locked in. And Utah was struggling in that first half of taking care of the basketball and getting good shots. But Colorado is way more athletic than Utah. And even though Colorado does not shoot threes very often, but when they do, they're like shooting like 39% or something ridiculous from 3, which is an interesting contrast. Usually teams shoot it that well, they shoot it more. And it's mostly because Simpson is just pretty knocked down. But I love Colorado's size, athleticism, their pace. They play both ends of the floor and they're really good at home. So I understand it's uncomfortable, but there's a reason why the world's in Colorado.
Every single thing points Colorado. Situationally spot, every single thing points Colorado. I will say this, no one's talking about this, and it's kind of funny. Like, this is me playing devil's advocate here, but Arizona did beat Colorado by 50
with no Cody Williams and
they
with
didn't have
Silva.
Two guys, but those 2 guys are not worth 50 points. Like, they're not worth
50 points, but when you're down 31-13, 10 minutes in, like, on the road against a top 5 team, you're like, it's over.
Arizona's really good, man. Like, they just beat Utah, who was 13-0 or undefeated at home too. Like, they're good. They beat Oregon on the road. Like, they're starting to figure things out. But that's just me playing devil's advocate. I wouldn't bet Arizona here. There's no way. The first half angle is interesting because, like, but you're only betting first half angle, strictly because you're worried about their legs in the second half. So, like, I wouldn't put a lot of stock into that. I wouldn't bet that. But yeah, Colorado 44-21 ATS with 3 days or fewer in Pac-12. It's like 2015. They're 13-0 this season. Arizona off triple OT and elevation, going to even more elevation. Colorado must win on the bubble. It's Colorado or nothing for sure.
Colorado, like, let's keep talking about him because I was this close to throwing a little future down on Colorado to make the Final Four at 25-1. They're such a unique team. I know I've said this about TCU and someone else today, but maybe Miami. But here's the thing with Colorado. To be a team that literally takes a shot at the rim, number 1 in the country on 41% of their shots, that parlayed with being the 9th best 3-point shooting team in the country and the 7th best free throw shooting team in the country and being a top 40 defense, like, that is such an interesting combo. Oh, and I didn't even mention they have a top 5 pick in the NBA draft on their team with a really good guard. right? With experienced big men in De Silva and Lampkin. Like Colorado is legit, okay? And they lost 3 in a row on the road, like when they were dealing with injuries, including that absolute abomination to Arizona. They dropped 2 close ones to Arizona State and California, which are wins you need to have if you're on the bubble, right? And they didn't get them. And then they've been in a really nice rhythm since. The only 2 losses were at Wazoo and at Utah, who were probably 2 tournament teams. There's my haircut again. Whatever, it's fine. That's cool, isn't it? Any Isaiah Rashad fans out there, hop in the chat. But yeah, Arizona, we know about the tough spot, but this is a lot of me, Colorado just being a really good team and needing it. Another stat, Colorado is the 6th best defensive rebounding team in the country, and this is not a team that Arizona is going to be able to push around like this. This is not a game where Arizona is going to be able to rely on their athleticism, right, and rely on being able to bully people, because Colorado's bullies. Arizona's going to have to come and out-execute them and take care of the ball and make good decisions, cough Caleb Love, and shoot the 3 well. And on the road, on this rest, like, it's harder for them to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, if this is a matchup where Arizona's playing a team like Stanford, Stanford's like very sharp and like they hit a bunch of shots, and I know Arizona did lose that game. It's like maybe Arizona can bounce back and kind of bully that and like, find the energy to like go bully a Stanford. But to go on this rest to play a team like Colorado is such a tough task. That's just a really bad formula. And I'm surprised 1.5 is the line. I thought it was going to get juiced up to 3.5.
Last thing to even like buff it up, like, Arizona, they have to play at a fast tempo. That's their game. They're 15th in the country in tempo, and they only played 7 guys. Very short rotation. It's not like they have depth. Everyone's going to be tired out there. Like, they might just melt and crack in the second half. I wouldn't be surprised by it at all. And I also think if Colorado can just pull away a little bit, like if they can go up like 10, I think, it's game over. I think Arizona holds it.
Also in that Utah game, in the Utah-Arizona game, they were really relying when things got tough in that second half run of Pelle Larsson, KJ Lewis, and Jaden Bradley off the bench of like getting downhill and just like being athletic, and getting 2 feet in the paint. Because they weren't really running their stuff well. Like Boswell was not playing very well. Love was not playing very well. They were just like, let's get a rebound or let's get even after a made basket, and let's try to get one of these ball handlers in the paint. Like Bradley was like kind of like the primary ball handler at times because he was just being able to get in the paint because he was so athletic, right? And Colorado just has really good size and like strong dudes, and it's just a perfect matchup for Arizona. It sucks that it's the public play. I know it's not fun. Like, we're supposed to be the sharps out here on this show, and I'm just telling you.
I don't know how public it is. Like, I don't know. A lot of people are like, I don't know. I don't know how public it is. But.
Well, moving on. What's up, Luke? Quickly about the Deeks. I know, obviously, I have Wake bias. Nick, I know you're big on the Deeks, too. We got 8.5 against NC State. State scares me because of what DJ Burns did last year. DJ Burns came into our building last year and went for 31. We did not have F. Reed last year. It was over and over again. We didn't double him, but DJ Burns coming off a big game against Pitt. I definitely think NC State's guards are not nearly what they were last year. Like, I understand DJ Horn's been playing well, but Turk and Joyner were way scarier. I think I'm scared because it's State and because Middlebrooks and Burns could do their thing. But Wake has been a wagon at home. I think this is either Wake wins by 15 and just gets off to a hot start and just cooks, and NC State can't really play how they want to and have a DJ Burns game, or Wake does not start well and NC State like takes it down to the wire. I don't think there's I don't think NC State's gonna like cover this game and not like be in it to win it. I either think they're gonna be in it to win it or Wake's gonna run away with it.
Yeah, pure number NC State situation. I think it's NC State too. Awful loss. Wake Forest definitely fat and happy off 2 big blowouts, and they have Duke on deck on Monday, so maybe a look ahead. But
hard to look ahead against an in-state rival, though.
I suppose, but you're way better than NC State off 2 big wins. Duke on deck. It makes sense. I don't think they're overlooking it, but pure number I like NC State. But I'm really high on Wake Forest, really low on NC State, so I wouldn't bet it. Wake Forest should win, please win.
Go Deeks. Connor, I'm not going to spend much time on UConn, Georgetown. Don't take Georgetown. Like, just don't do it. Okay. If you want to take UConn and lay the number, do it. We're going to move on from that. Sam, I appreciate you. We already talked Zags, Kentucky. You can rewind the stream, and then we just did Colorado, Arizona. You probably saw that. But yeah, leaning Gonzaga didn't play, and then on Colorado. Charlie, you can rewind to see what we said about Florida Auburn. We were kind of split on that. I'm going to play Florida, even though I'm starting to second guess myself a little bit because Nick made some good points on Auburn. Aiden, what's good? Wisco today against Rutgers. I think I fucked up these logos. I'm sorry. I did such a good job graphically today, Nick. This is my only mistake, but it's Wisconsin at Rutgers. I don't know if I honestly did. Yeah. Everything else right with the home away. Point is, this game is at the rack. Wisconsin's only laying 3. They just lost to a horrible Michigan team, or maybe not a horrible Michigan team, but one that has just been
pretty bad. I mean, it's a really bad loss.
It's a bad loss. It's a bounce back spot.
Yeah, Wisconsin's got the skids right now. Lost 3 in a row. Rutgers hot. 1, 2 in a row. The biggest thing for Rutgers, in my opinion, is Jeremiah Williams is back for them. He's given the team new life. He's averaging 12 points over the last 2 games. And he's legit. He's good in my opinion. And, it's the rack. It's hard to fade Rutgers at home. I think all the value. I think it's a great buy low spot on Wisconsin, but it's a really, really hard game to bet. If anything, I'd go Wisconsin first half, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a good angle. Jeremiah Williams, for those who don't know, transferred from Temple, didn't play at all last year, and then has just played 2 games in a Rutgers uniform, and he's been double digits in both and been a great
first for them. So.
Yeah, and 2 road wins. Rutgers doesn't win on the road. Rutgers is 300th in offense and 2nd in defense. Like, this team is actually ridiculous. Last year they were 6th in defense, 151st in offense. But never good to back from the rack. But I will say this: Nick and I were both on Rutgers to cover 10.5 against Purdue. Quickly, we were like, they're not going to be able to score enough to keep up. We should have played the under. Then rack magic happened.
Rack magic.
They had a chance to win, and then Purdue held on. But what did Purdue do in that second half, Nick? That worked out pretty well for us. They missed a bunch of open threes. And I understand that on paper, Purdue's probably a better shooting team than Wisconsin, but I think in a desperate spot for Wisconsin, like, if they're going to get those, if that's the looks that, Rutgers is, I understand, Wall and Craw don't have the gravity of Edey, like, of course, but I still think Wisconsin's going to be able to go to, like, I understand Rutgers is so good defensively, but I still think that the way Wisconsin plays, like, the way they take care of the ball, right, that they're going to be able to, like, do good enough in the half court, or at least, proportionally to what Rutgers is doing on the other side of the floor in the half court. So I think you're getting a really good price on Wisconsin if you want to buy low. Never fun to fade Rutgers at the rack. I think this is a very digestible number, though.
I will say this: Purdue, one big reason we bet that was it's a house of 4s for Purdue. I will say this: Wisconsin, they beat Rutgers last time by 5 and Rutgers, and then the time before that at Rutgers they won by 6 as well. So they won their last 2 at the rack. So they can win there. Guard knows how to win there. So,
and I think isn't a key piece of that, Nick, the fact that Rutgers, it's hard to turn over Wisconsin, right? Like Purdue,
yeah, I
know. You can rattle those guards, you can pressure those guards a bit, but like Chucky's a really good decision maker. Like Wisconsin ends possessions with shots, not turnovers most of the time. And like against Rutgers, like it's going to be ugly on the other end of the floor. So as long as you're getting shots up, like it's hard to be worse than them offensively, right?
Yeah, I mean you can't expect Rutgers offense to like give you anything. Like it's so bad. It's so bad.
What's up, Benny? I got your game. Sorry I didn't throw your chat up, but thanks for joining the stream. Austin, we just talked about Providence Butler like probably 10, 15 minutes ago if you want to rewind. We're probably going to wrap the stream up in the next 10 minutes or so. I don't know how accurate Action Network is, 24 Cademan. Sometimes it's true, but like don't take that as the gospel, I will say.
Yeah, I don't really look at splits a ton of college basketball. Just because like there's not a ton of money like compared to like NFL and stuff like that where it kind of matters. But I think VSiN has the best for splits, like most accurate. And pregame.com, that's a good one too.
Kevin, we did touch on UNC Miami probably like 15, 20 minutes ago if you want to rewind. Cademan, I forgot. Tennessee A&M we have not gotten to yet.
That's a good one.
This feels like a buzz upset spot, but also once again it's a digestible price for Tennessee for sure. Like we just did to Kentucky. Like the way that what I was most impressed with Tennessee against Kentucky is how much better the supporting cast has been playing. And I understand Kentucky wasn't guarding, but I really think that the pieces are fitting in Tennessee very well right now around Connect. And I think like last year when Tennessee would be good, it was because they were doing Tennessee shit. They were getting second chance points. They were locking up and they were making enough shots. But now it's so much easier for the Vescovies, the Zieglers, the Josiah Jordan James playing alongside Dalton Connect. Like it makes their lives so much easier offensively. And when A&M is so reliant on Wade Taylor hero ball and second chance points, which I know works, and I know they're a good team, I just think Tennessee is definitely a good counter to what they're trying to do. And I don't know. Tennessee's a tough team to go against. Like when you're looking at Tennessee and Auburn going on the road today, I definitely feel more comfortable about backing Florida when in basically the same spot. Because I'm a little higher on Auburn, a little higher on Florida.
Let me tell you right now why you don't want to bet A&M here. Even though like the spot situation, everything sets up for A&M. Tennessee is the number 1 2-point percent defense. They're top 10 in 2-point percent defense, number 9, and number 2 in SEC in 2-point percent defense. So, A&M is not going to create in the paint inside the arc. And A&M is 358th in the country in 3-point percent. Think about that. The only teams worse than them are Coppin State, Buffalo, IUPUI, and Mississippi Valley State.
That's a hell of a company. That sucks to see how Buffalo.
Bro, how does A&M score in this game? Like that is my biggest thing. Like, you cannot touch them here. Like you just can't do it. You just can't. Nothing makes I just could not bet A&M. It'd be so uncomfortable. You got to hope for like a game that's like the same as Florida game. Like what was that game played in the 50s? I think maybe.
Florida A&M,
Texas A&M, Florida. What was that score?
Yeah, mid-60s.
60s. Yeah, I mean, you just gotta hope like Tennessee can't make a shot here today.
Right. Which is in their range of outcomes, like when they scored 59 against South Carolina at home, but. That's been an outlier this year. Like they've been very sharp. And like, what was the road SEC game they lost? It was Mississippi State. And even though A&M, like, the frenzy can sometimes be good defense, but like, you look at the efficiency numbers. Like Tennessee is not A&M is not that good defensively, and like Mississippi State is like very good defensively. And I think that's what you need to do to beat Tennessee at your place. And I think there's like I think dude, you look at Tennessee's schedule. They don't have to go to.
Yeah, they're chilling after this game.
They don't have to go out to Auburn, which is nice. They got Auburn at home.
Bro, they play Arkansas, Vanderbilt, Missouri for the next week after this. Like, they're absolutely chilling after this for a while.
Tennessee might get a 1 seed. I think Tennessee could keep it rolling.
I think they're sneaky. Yeah.
24 Kidman wants to know what site you said VSIM.
Yeah, pregame. Use pregame.
Pregame.
It's called pregame. Yeah, I think that's the
Hunter
best one.
Beans. That's a great name. I love it. Okay, go Gamecocks today. Place your Gamecocks to win the SEC today. Hey man, like that value has been a little too high, clearly based on how good Lamont Paris is. I heard a rumor that Paris got extended so that someone wouldn't pluck him. I forget what school it was, but someone was rumored of wanting him.
Ohio State.
Yeah. South Carolina has absolutely been rolling 6 in a row with wins over Tennessee, Kentucky. You've got Vanderbilt at home. I don't want to talk about this. Don't take Vanderbilt. And go South Carolina. There's too many good games today. I've not been paying any attention to anything involving Vanderbilt.
The only other question I see is the Utah State one.
Oh, Utah State, Boise. Go first.
Yeah, tough one. Utah State beat Boise at Boise, who like no one does that, and they did it, and they won in overtime. They got kind of lucky. I'm not gonna lie, they should have lost it, but they deserved the cover, and they did, so that's good. Back home, I think Utah State's off a loss, maybe 2 losses.
Nevada at home, and then they lost at San Diego State.
They're kind of like, I faded them last week for San Diego State, and they got blown out. It seems not as good as I think they, everyone thinks they are. I respect their home court. Boise State needs this game just as bad as they do. I think it's going to be a tight back and forth game. I don't think there's any margin in this game. I think 4.5's all the value. I would take Boise here.
Yeah, we saw Boise travel and give a really strong effort at New Mexico. That's when I realized that I was maybe hating a little bit too much on Boise. I still don't like them though.
they're a big grind you down type of team, and like Utah State is kind of like that as well. They're not like a lot of finesse and flair and talent. They're grinders. Well, that's why I think 4.5 like just is huge here. They could easily lose this game by like 3 or 4.
I love me some great Osabor though. He's such a beast.
He's great. He's great.
And Darius Brown is like 29 years old. Really good guard. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna. Okay. I was hating a little bit too much on Boise. I also dropped one of the jinxes of the season, saying I posted that Max Rice shooting 34% from the field and taking 10 shots a game, and his daddy's the coach. And I'm like, how can you like? And I'm like, objectively speaking, who wants to play with that guy? He went for 35 that game, and I was all right, my bad, Max Rice.
He rushed at halftime. It's like, all right, I got to go off now.
Yeah, so he definitely was on his phone at half, but he's got noties on. Everyone should have noties on. You don't want to miss any of the plays, but Boise, don't be fooled by this line of Utah State thinking this is like a discount on Utah State.
Yeah, this is bad.
You know what I'm saying? Like if Utah State was actually as good of a team as Boise, I think this line would be more like 5.5, 6.5. I'm pretty sure that's what like San Diego State's, and like in these Mountain West spots, right, of these 6 teams that are all tournament teams, apparently, maybe they are, and I just need to get used to the new world. But like, I feel like the lines have been a little richer, and I think because
they've been hitting though. Like they have been bumping these lines, and they're still hitting. Like Mountain West home court because of the elevation, traveling, all that. Like it's so good, but yeah. This one, I don't like it. But they've been hitting, bro. Like last night, Nevada had no reason to cash. They're 2.5, and they cashed. So,
right.
They just hit.
Okay, a couple more quick. We're about to end. Ian, you're smoking ganja.
Indiana covers.
Absolutely not. Maybe they could definitely cover. They could definitely cover. They're not winning that game.
Nope.
If they win that game, I'm not going to do it. But they're not going to win. Quick thoughts on Clemson. Girard revenge game at the Dome. Benny Williams kicked out of the program. Is that a good thing? Does that mean you got a bad guy out of the locker room? You got bad vibes going, and you're locked in and you're due for a win? Syracuse also just went down to the wire with Louisville. Let's not forget. Clemson's coming off arguably their best performance in a couple months at Carolina. Not just the fact that they won, but they looked really good when they won. I do think Syracuse's guards could find success in this game. Clemson has struggled to guard some athletic guards this season because Chase Hunter doesn't move his feet that well, and Girard is Joe Girard. But Clemson looked really good offensively, and they're old, and I think Syracuse has, as Nick, you've been saying this all season, Syracuse beats who they're supposed to beat, and they lose to good teams. And this line moved from like 2. You got a really nice 2.5 earlier. I think it's at 4.5 now.
Yeah, everyone wants to say, hangover game for Clemson going up north now, trap game Syracuse. No, not my opinion. They keep the momentum rolling today. Cuse, not that good. They just beat Louisville by 2. Congrats. I don't think they're good. I think they lose this game.
Last one, we didn't touch on St. John's Marquette. I'm playing St. John's because this is a bet on a couple things. One, when Marquette came to the Garden and played, it was really back and forth. St. John's was scoring. Kolek and Oso at the end of the day were too much, and they were able to hold on even though they had some bad free throw shooting. But one of Marquette's weaknesses is defensive rebounding. St. John's obviously is a really good offensive rebounding team. Soriano has lost 4 in a row to Marquette, so there's an emotional element to it, and he's also been a beast on the offensive glass in each of those games. Like he's getting like 4 or 5. Patino, really wants to make the tournament, and they need a marquee win. Like they
can't get it. They can't get a big win.
They can't get it, but I think the aspect of seeing a team a second time where Marquette is so sharp offensively, right? And it's because of the way that Kolek and Oso can read and do so many different things based on what the defense is doing. Like whether you're switching, whether you're hard hedging, like they're going to make the right decision. They're going to make you pay, and Cam Jones can explode at any time at home. Joplin, also is that good of a shooter. But I just think St. John's is going to have a good defensive game plan to make it hard for Kolek and Oso. And you're getting in. I got 8.5 yesterday on this, and I don't know. I think St. John's is going to bring their A game. Marquette also hasn't lost in a while, and I think this is just second team Big East. Like a lot of these Big East games have been close, and I just think you're getting a good value on St. John's, like with what Patino is, what Joel Soriano is, and the fact that Marquette has been rolling. But
yeah, they've been buzzing. They won 6 in a row, all double digits. Besides St. John's, in a coin flip game, that game could have gone either way. Really, I think St. John's should have won. Marquette is scary, but yeah, my 2 favorite dogs today was TCU and St. John's.
Hell yeah, me too. Guys, thank you so much for joining us again. This has been a lot of fun. Episode 2 complete. Appreciate all your activity in the chat. Make sure you're following Nick on Twitter at Turnstone Capper and me at OdjHoops. I'm going to be posting my official card here soon. But yeah, make sure you come back next Saturday. This has been a lot of fun. Going to be a great slate. Enjoy the hoops, everyone.